you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird, and today I am fortunate enough to be joined by someone who knows his way around the horror genre that is also way more capable as a artist, as someone that can bring these crazy ideas out of his head and put it onto paper for people, or an even more 3D canvas like a teddy bear, for example. We'll get into all of it, but today we're talking to the gentleman behind Quiet Room Bears, as well as way more. Lee Howard, welcome to the channel, sir.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Yes, if you guys are on TikTok at all, you definitely have to go follow Mr. Howard here. He does so much amazing stuff, but even beyond that, you want to check out the stuff that it's a bit more infrequent. His Quiet Room Bears, they started off huge and popular, and then now, I mean, obviously they're still huge and popular, but they're not as easy to continue to produce, I'm guessing. So
yeah.
we'll get into all of that, but I'm also very excited to talk to him about his ... but horror series. Very excited about that. So yeah, Lee, thank you very much for taking the time, sir.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So my first question always is for people, again, we are the Horror Show channel. We tend to focus on the horror of it all. So in your experience, you currently do a lot within the horror genre independently as an artist. What was your first experience with the horror genre that you can remember in your wee bitty years of existence?
Many moons ago. I remember specifically. So, I mean, I'm 47, right? So I remember when I was like very
hard to
young,
believe,
like,
but okay.
Yeah, well, I drink unicorn blood. It's only
You know
available
the
black
secret.
market. Yeah, it's black market. So illegal, but totally worth it.
Guys, if you can get your hands on unicorn blood, get it now. Yeah.
I remember when Salem's Lot was on TV. Maybe one of the first times. Sorry if you hear my cat beside me. He's going crazy.
We're very cat friendly on this channel.
I got 4 of them.
Us too.
Cat here. Oh, amazing.
Literally.
So yeah, I remember being, 3, 4, and Salem's Lot was on TV. I came downstairs. It scared the absolute. Can I swear here or no swearing?
Absolutely. Yep. Nope. We're YouTube.
Okay, scared
Go
the
for
shit
it.
out
Fuck it.
Okay, perfect. So I was always, it's funny, I was scared of stuff for a little while, but it's I still kind of liked monsters and stuff. There's this I'm in Canada, for those that don't know.
So is our Freddie, so hey, we know from Canada here on this channel.
Yes. There's this Canadian kids show that was on when I was a kid. And I think it did play in some of the states, called The Hilarious House of Frightenstein.
Oh.
And Vincent Price was he narrated it, and he would it was kind of not a sketch show, but sort of. And there was one dude, this Canadian comedian named Billy Van, and he played all the characters, and it was a wolf man and a Dracula type guy, and there were just this creepy librarian and a witch, and he played all the characters. So it's it was all monsters and stuff, but I really liked that as a kid. So I wasn't completely afraid of monsterish things. But when I was 10, in 86, my older brother, Bill, we were babysitting a nephew of mine, and he was like, "Hey, let's put this movie on." And I was like, "What is it?" And he's like, "It's Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I was like, I'm like, "Is it too scary?" And he's like, "It's the middle of the day on a Sunday, you'll be fine." And it flipped a switch in me, and I was just horror obsessed. I'm a Freddy guy through and through, 100%.
Love that.
Freddy. I love Michael Myers. I love other Halloween, or the other, horror movies. But I'm a Freddy guy.
I'm a bit of a fan as well.
I could tell. So yeah, ever since then, I've loved horror.
That's great.
That was the one. Yeah, Nightmare 2 was the one, and I got deep love for that movie. I'm glad it has a real appreciation now. because obviously we all know like back then people kind of like shit on it and stuff, but I'm glad people have come around.
You know what? I am not like I'll accept the penance that is required for saying that I did not used to like this Nightmare as much as the others by any stretch. I'm one of the people that liked, Goofy Freddy and stuff like that.
Okay.
But so I didn't really appreciate 2 that much. However, as I've gotten older and within the last 5-7 years, 2 has rocketed up my list of nightmare movies because it's just straight scary. And poor choice of words, but it is very scary. And it's not necessarily straight scary, but it is.
No.
But it's a great time. Some of the scariest Freddy moments of the entire series. Definitely the scariest Freddy look of the entire series. But I'm telling you, that bus scene, that coming down the aisle, ting.
Oh man, yeah.
Ting.
The nightmare sequences are some of the scariest in that movie.
100%, and the look too, the sunken eyes, right?
I
All
love
that.
It's my favorite makeup for Freddy. Part 2.
And that's part of what we went into with our Dylan's New Nightmare makeup. We wanted to be Nightmare 2 Freddy mixed with Demon Freddy from Freddy vs. Jason. And with a little bit, obviously, of New Nightmare Freddy thrown in there with the patching and stuff like that. But yeah, like that look, that Nightmare 2 look, it's so great. It's funny.
It's like,
my first experience with horror was a part 2 as well, but it was Jaws 2. It was, I walked into my parents' room and it was who I would later find out to be Chief Brody banging on a giant electrical wire with a paddle, and then a shark coming up and getting electrified and burned. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And they're like, get out, get out, get out. I'm always curious about how people got into the genre. So how did it evolve from there for you? Like, did you start to get gravitated towards a particular subgenre within horror, or was it just all horror? Like, how did your love of the genre evolve from there?
Well, being like a kid of the 80s, obviously slashers were like the thing back then, right?
Yes. Sir.
So I don't remember the, exact order of like, what I saw next or whatever, but it's like I was just so like anyone who has like an older brother, it's like whatever they like, you kind of like,
Sure.
So because he showed me Nightmare 2 and I loved it so much, it was just like, well, what else can I see? And it's like from there, I'm sure it's like I went into the Halloweens and the Hellraisers and like my room was almost like a complete Freddy shrine, but I still had like a pinhead, like a Hellraiser 2 poster and Michael Myers stuff and like I really like the Universal monsters and stuff, so I would have like little Frankenstein and Wolfman figures and stuff.
Nice.
I just back in the good old days when you would go to the video store and you didn't know anything about a movie and you just look at the cover and be like, what's this? It's called Parents. Or like, what's this? It's called The Stuff. You just rent it because it's in the horror section. So you just kind of discover these movies
box art
without knowing. Yeah, totally. Which, like I love. I mean, that's been my in the last 6 months or so, like my midlife crisis is that I've been, I got the TV VCR guy here and I've been going to secondhand shops and buying up all these mostly horror but other just like childhood favorite VHSs. I miss the boxes, I miss the cover art and stuff like that. And
I definitely feel you there. I mean, it's a point of nostalgia for many horror lovers. I mean, just for the simple fact that it harkens back to when we were young and just perusing the aisles, right? And just like, oh my God, look at that. Like we had a place called Galaxy Video nearby that was going against Blockbuster, but there was also a Video Update not far. And Video Update did a thing where it was like 3 for 99-cent Tuesdays. And so I would go there on a Tuesday and I would get 9 movies for $3, and they would have all the sequels to like all the movies. So like I would just make it through a whole series doing this, and it just kind of expanded the breadth of the horror genre that I got to see. And I mean, of us, we just chose based on boxes.
Yeah. Right? You were binge watching before, like,
and I have the body to prove it. Hey, This is the consequence, guys. But yeah, no, it's it's nostalgia, right? Like
Yep.
now we
Yep.
wish that now with the streaming era, there's not boxes, right? There's not like
Yeah.
there's artwork, but it's so small they have to bring up the description and the trailer and bleh.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, that looks dope, let me see what that shit is. It's
Yeah.
not the same anymore, so it deserves a nostalgic look back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So as far as the specific subgenres in horror, so I tend to go to this rapid fire section where
Sure.
I go through each subgenre and get your brief thoughts on each one. Okay,
Right.
Because there's everyone in horror loves certain subgenres and could like take or leave other ones. So I'm always curious.
Sure.
So we know you love slashers. You mentioned you love
do.
slashers.
Yep.
Creature features. You probably like, but please, your thoughts on creature features specifically.
I love monster movies.
I only know that because they're fast food monsters, but yes.
yes. Which we can also get into. I
will.
love
Trust me, we'll
monsters.
get there. Yeah.
Yeah. I love. Yeah. Just even if like they're. I mean, I don't know if like say like the Meg. It's technically a creature feature, right? It's like, and it's even if they're like
Shark
cheesy,
movies, alligator movies, all of them.
Yeah,
are creature features.
That's all like super fun. Like I love,
Crawl, right?
My cat's freaking out again. Anytime I do like a Zoom call or anything like that, he always he wants to be a part of it.
That's fine. Bring him on. We're cat friendly here. It's cool.
He's getting gross with one of his toys. Anyway, speaking of horror, creature features I absolutely love. I like this kind of a different. It's kind of melding genres because I also really like, and maybe we'll get into it, like kind of folk horror movies. But
that
like,
actually, dark fantasy / folk is what I have.
Yeah.
I
Really love that stuff. Like that movie, The Ritual. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh my God, yes, that deer creature. Right. I forgot what it's actually called, but I have it down because we are doing a separate series coming up soon where it's the best monsters, and we're going through every type of monster. We have like 50 categories. And folk monsters is gonna be that one, because
like I love the design of that, and I love folk like Midsummer. I love Midsummer so much. I know there's other ones I would
say dark fantasy / folk would include Pan's Labyrinth, right?
Oh God, yeah, amazing.
Dark fantasy gets in there. Even Labyrinth to a certain extent could be considered dark fantasy. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. No, I love that stuff too. It's like there's going to be like few subgenres that I don't love. Like I like everything.
There's always a few.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So let me jump into the next one then.
Sure.
Paranormal.
I love paranormal stuff too. I know it's the Paranormal Activity series is like some people love it, some people don't. Some people don't love the found footage style.
That's another one, found footage. So by all means, cover both.
Yeah, I happen to love it. I love found footage stuff.
Agreed. It does feel a little samey, but there are certain found footage movies that literally raise the bar for found footage movies, and it's amazing.
The first 3 Paranormals I love. 4 I didn't love, but the marked ones, part 5, I thought was underrated.
Yeah,
I thought that was
Ghost
great.
Dimension as a 3D experiment was actually pretty cool too. Honestly,
yeah. It's like
I'm an easy mark, but yeah,
right. Yeah, I don't put it as high up there, but because I kind of wish they would have like stuck with the original, like Katie and her family and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it was still like fun. You know what I mean? Like, and it's. I'm kind of easy to please too. If I have a fun time watching the movie, then great.
Exactly. Yeah, found footage to me, what I like are the people that like it's all pretty similar for the most part, where it's like people, they're investigating something and you don't actually get a glimpse at the thing until the very end of the movie, and then everyone dies. But there's a few movies that raise the bar when it comes to found footage. I think Evidence is one that not a lot of people watch. It's got Stephen Moyer in it, and
nice.
What it is it's basically a crime scene that these cops happen across. Like it's got a very Swordfish-like opening where there's a thing that happens and they do a like slow-mo, like a freeze frame going
Cool.
all around the whole thing, and it's a dude with a torch killing people, and it's basically the detectives are watching the found footage to try and figure out what happened. So it's a mix of regular movie with found footage. Same thing with one of my all-time favorites, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Right?
Yeah, it's a great one.
The first half is found footage, and then it becomes an actual slasher movie.
Totally.
So yeah, when found footage is utilized correctly, I think it's a wonderful tool in the horror
the Creep
genre.
Movies also, Creep 1 and Creep 2.
Absolutely.
It's kind of found footage, I guess, but it's like
it's the dude showing up and like dealing with all this creepy shit. 100%. Yeah.
Totally.
No, I love that. Okay, cool. So, serial killer / true crime.
I do like that stuff too. I'm trying to think of like
your oh god, what's the one I'm thinking of now? That Zodiac, right? Something like that.
Oh shit, yeah. Zodiac is great. Like Seven, fantastic.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which I haven't seen for many, many years, so I feel like I need to revisit that.
You know, one of the best ones that a lot of people don't know about that I had on VHS was called The Ugly. The Ugly was really good. It was about a dude, and it was a sort of more psychological serial killer story, but yeah, that one was really good too, and not enough people know about that one. Okay, so let's get into I mean, some people consider this more paranormal, but religious horror, your exorcism movies, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, like anything exorcism-y I love. Like, I mean, it's hard to beat The Exorcist. I mean, that's top tier, right? True. Exorcist 3, super underrated. I love that movie.
Yep. How does the Believer trailer tickle your fancy?
I didn't think it looked bad. It just, I think I need to see another trailer. Like, I wasn't blown away, but I also wasn't like, ew, gross, like terrible. I was just like, okay, it just seemed like an exorcism movie. I don't know if you ever saw the Exorcist TV series.
I did. I watched.
I really liked it.
The first season specifically was great. Second season was good, but not quite as good. But agreed. Love that.
I think a lot of horror TV never gets the love it should get. I mean, Hannibal was a great show, and it only went 3 seasons. You know, like
some of the
it
best
should have
stuff.
Went for 2.
100%
Ash vs.
agreed.
Evil Dead got canceled.
3 seasons also amazing. I agree. Like horror, when translated to TV, it's great because it gives you time to actually so many people's gripes about horror movies is you don't get time to know the characters, so you don't care when they die. When you have a TV series, man, like you can really develop those characters, and then you really care when they start to get offed, and you care about the background of the killer and stuff like that. Like, I don't think devoting more time is a bad thing. I'm very excited about the Crystal Lake TV series because again, Brian Fuller from Hannibal is running a Jason TV series. That's fucking sick.
What a time to be alive.
yeah, exactly. All right, so psychological horror.
I love it. One of my absolute favorite horror movies, which I think is also underrated, and I guess kind of would be a little bit paranormal as well, is Session 9.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it or
not. That's
Renee,
right? Renee Zellweger? No,
different
movie. Okay.
That's Bridget Jones's Diary.
No, she was in one, but it's not Session 9. I know the artwork. It's like the almost electric chair kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's like a hallway with the chair at the end. It's like David Caruso is in it. Brad Anderson directed it.
God, what the fuck was I thinking of? I'm way off.
I don't remember. But it's like, it's like 4 or 5 guys who strip buildings of asbestos and stuff, go into an old shut down asylum, and bad things start happening.
Yes.
And I love movies that just kind of like have that feeling of doom the whole time, it just makes you feel uneasy.
It's just a matter of time as you watch them run out of time, so to speak.
Just like, and it just kind of movies that kind of get under your skin and just kind of stick with you, for a couple days. After, and you're still thinking about it. Session 9 was a big one for me, and also in the creating of like the backstory of the Quiet Room Bears, which we can obviously get into later.
Yes.
That Session 9 was a huge influence for me.
Fantastic. Okay, great.
Yeah.
We're rounding out the edges here. So, horror, sci-fi. What do you think about sci-fi horror?
Oh, great. It's funny. It's always like the debate with like, is Alien a sci-fi movie or a horror movie? And it's like
both. Who cares?
Why can't it be both?
Yeah.
You know,
Same with Predator. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And like the new one, Prey, I loved. One that I feel like flies under that fly under the radar for me is Underwater, the Kristen Stewart one.
I love that movie. That is probably the most listened to score that I like. Whenever I'm writing and stuff, I
Nice.
default to Underwater right now.
Oh, that's great. And
Yeah.
I mean, that movie, like as soon as it starts, like you're in it, you know, so good.
Casey was amazing in that.
She's amazing. I'm a huge fan of her. I think she's great. I hate that like the stink of the Twilight movies kind of followed some of the actors around, because obviously like Pattinson is like an amazing actor.
He's fucking Batman now, you know, like he's
my favorite Batman now, and I love Batman.
Yeah.
So Underwater is one, and then the other one that I feel like people kind of forgot about is that one called Life.
Love that the Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds
Yeah.
and Jake Gyllenhaal in space.
Yeah.
That one was so good.
Love
and
that
so
movie.
tense. Loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it had a great ending too, like a great horror sci-fi ending, you know. Yeah,
a lot of people were like, that movie could almost serve as like a prequel to Venom.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I agreed.
Like
yeah,
space organism that kind
Exactly.
of grows and feeds on people.
the
Yeah.
symbiote.
I loved it.
100%. So yeah, fantastic. I guess we touched on found footage. Then we just start to get into the more detailed ones, like your zombies, your vampires, your werewolves. Personally, I'm a little sick of the zombie genre just because it's been so oversaturated. You have to do something real special for me to care about a zombie movie.
Right.
But yeah, so any particular thoughts on like the zombie, werewolf, vampire kind of sitch?
I mean, I still like them all. I know what you mean. It's like, I feel like once Walking Dead first started, it was like zombies were everywhere. But I mean, that show just went too many seasons, you know. And I think it kind of, I don't know, people got kind of tired of zombies. There is one movie. It's a Canadian horror movie, and it gets lumped in with zombie movies, but it's not like zombies really. Called Pontypool.
Love that
and
movie.
Oh, good. Okay, you know it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Pontypool is a town that's like not actually that super far from me.
That was largely the radio station one, right?
Yeah. Like I love that. It's almost like that could be done as like a stage play almost, you know, because
That's
it takes
fair.
place in like the one room basically. And yeah, it does. I understand why it gets lumped in with zombies, even though the people they're not undead or anything, but just the kind of mindlessness. But it was so creative, like
it was
how
more like Rage Virus, like 28 Days Later kind of zombies, right? Yeah.
I just thought it was super creative how the like virus was released and stuff. It was such an original thing that I never would have thought of.
Well, that's the thing. When people can be unique within that sort of subgenre, that like One Cut of the Dead. One Cut of the Dead is one of the best movies I've seen in a decade in the zombie genre. Have you seen that yet?
No, I'm far behind it.
It's Korean. It's Korean.
Okay.
And and it's basically the credits roll at 45 minutes, and then the movie continues. And so what it is it like starts off and it's a zombie movie that they film in one take. So one cut of the dead, and then the back half of the movie, it rewinds and it shows all the behind the scenes of the crew and how they managed to accomplish this one take zombie movie. And that you start cheering for them, because like the stuff that they do to pull off what they pull off that you think is a really shitty zombie movie, but ultimately when you see everything that went into it, it's just like, holy cow, one of the best zombie movie experiences you can possibly have as someone that's seen a ton of zombie movies. Trust me, One Cut of the Dead is fantastic.
That's awesome. I'll put that on my ever-growing list of movies.
I know, right?
Catch up on.
I'm sure there's none ahead of that in the list. So before we get into the specific horror side of what you do, how did you actually get into art? Was it like, was it the drawing? Was it the handmade stuff? Like, how did all of that happen for you?
So art is like the only subject I ever got like 100% in school.
Okay.
Like I'm terrible at math and okay-ish at the other ones or whatever, but art it's just something I've always done. I've always drawn, and I've always been kind of known, even like in school where I was not a popular dude, but I was known for like that guy makes art. So yeah, I'd always just draw like I'm a big comic book nerd too, so I'd always like redraw panels of comic books, or even when I was little I would pause like Disney movies and redraw that art and stuff. I just liked the kind of cartoony stuff. And at a certain point, because I like horror movies so much, I just liked drawing werewolves and monsters, and it's to the point where in grade 5 or 6 maybe, I would draw like Freddy murals all over my desk.
Damn.
And then of course the teachers would be like, erase all that. And my dad would come home from parent teacher meetings, and I thought I would be getting in shit for like low grades, and he would just be like, just leave Freddy at home, okay? Because it was like, I was so Freddy crazy. So yeah, I was always drawing and stuff, and then I started painting maybe in my 20s, acrylic painting, and it wasn't until like like with the handmade stuff like the Quiet Room Bears, that was like much later in life, although it was 22 years ago that I made the first Quiet Room Bear.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've been making them for a very long time. But yeah, it's like, yeah, drawing and then painting and then moving on to more stuff like that.
That's awesome. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as so art in general came before the Quiet Room Bear stuff.
Yep.
Can you tell the audience, I mean, let's just dive into it since we mentioned it.
Sure.
What are the Quiet Room Bears? How did they get started? And, what does it mean? Like the quiet
absolutely.
room of it all.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, the Quiet Room Bears are one-of-a-kind, individually numbered horror art teddy bears since 2001. And I
Never been said before, clearly.
No, not rehearsed at all. I made the first one way back. My brother and his wife were having a Halloween party, and it was a themed party, Rosemary's Baby Shower.
Oh.
And yeah, they had like a little demon baby doll in a crib, and they were gonna have this contest of like whoever brought the best gift for the baby will win a prize. And although they ended up not doing the contest, but I was like, every baby needs a teddy bear, so the son of Satan needs like a teddy bear that makes you want to like throw up in your mouth when you look at it. So I just I tried to think of like what would be really uncomfortable to look at. So the first bear, which is this just an audio or a video?
No,
podcast?
We'll have video. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, very good. And of course it's like the bear. I don't know where he is.
Go ahead. Go if you want to go grab him.
Right there. Here he is. So this is the first Quiet Room Bear.
Damn, you still have the first one, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll never get rid of the first one. So I was like, yeah, what if this teddy bear had like ripped out eyes, and it was like bloody and had human teeth in there, and like a bloody doll face in his stomach? Like, why is that there? And like a weird like arm sewn on. I just tried to think, yeah, like what would look really uncomfortable, and I made it, and then I brought it, and I didn't have the name Quiet Room Bears, anything like that yet. But the reaction it got from people were just like, Jesus Christ, like I feel uncomfortable looking at that. And
which is what you want.
Yeah. And it's just the reaction was so strong. I was like, maybe I should make more of these things, but I'm like, maybe I'll make them different each time. Huh. So after that, I made 2 more bears that were very simple. They weren't numbered or anything like that. And I think I had sold them on eBay as just like scary teddy bear, and sold them for maybe $30, $40, I don't know, something crazy. So somewhere out there somebody has the second and third Quiet Room Bear.
Dang. Okay.
Without maybe even knowing, So a few years went by, several years, I think, and I didn't do any work on them for whatever reason. My memory sucks, so I couldn't tell you why. But then just at a certain point, I was like, I'm gonna start making those bears again. And then I was like, yeah, I'll start numbering them so that they're unique. Like I as an artist, I don't like redoing. I've had to repaint the same painting a couple times before for people, and it's like, I already did it. I don't want to do it again. So I wanted to make the bears unique, and then that way too, it's like it's a piece of art, not just a product, and people know that they have that unique one, and there's not another one like it, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to, like, I like being a storyteller as well, so I wanted to create an entire backstory behind what the Quiet Room Bears are. So the Quiet Room part of Quiet Room Bears, I stole from Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Oh yeah, okay.
In Weston Hills,
Kincaid goes to the Quiet Room. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So I thought that just sounded cool. So I created like a backstory behind like a hospital that existed at one point that's now closed down, and the Quiet Room itself is like an entity. It's a bad place, kind of like the Overlook in The Shining.
Yeah, sure.
And the Quiet Room has like influence over everyone from the doctors to the patients in the building, whether they know it or not. And so when an inmate gets put into the Quiet Room for a session, like the bears also, they're called like session 1.
That's where the session comes from. Okay, I was wondering. Yeah.
And I stole that from session 9.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, I never wanted to name the bears like Fred the Bear, because or like fucking, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to give them silly names.
Chop them up, Charlie.
Yeah. I wanted them to be more like disturbing and not silly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when a patient gets put into the Quiet Room, the doctor like will give him, a regular teddy bear, because it's, all traumas stem from childhood, so the ultimate symbol of childhood is a teddy bear. But then he'll also give them like pliers and knives and rope and twine and scissors and stuff like that, and that's the Quiet Room is telling them to do that. So the doctor's like, no, this is normal. And then the Quiet Room gets in the people's heads and drives them crazy, and it could drive someone crazy over one night, or it could take 30 years, and then the person will start like pulling their teeth out and chopping their fingers off and cutting their ears off and sewing it into the bear, and then they'll like pour their blood and their madness into a bear. Damn. And then a new bear is born, and then that bear will at some point get out into the world, and over the years they become something of like an urban legend, and it's like people want them but they don't really know why, and either they'll seek them out or something will just like drop it off on a random doorstep, and then the process happens again. Either overnight they'll go crazy and find another teddy bear and create a new bear. It's like a pyramid scheme of evil. The
best kind.
Yeah, so at this point I've made 900 bears or so over all these years. I make and release a batch every like 8 weeks or so, because they take so long to make.
Okay.
They come packaged in a bloody burlap bag, and you get a bloody envelope that has like the certificate and the story of the Quiet Room Bears and some signed cards. So it's like I want it to be an experience, not just a product.
That's awesome.
In 2018, I wrote and directed a short film.
This was on my list to ask about. I did see the trailer, so I was curious as to what happened with that.
So it's on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's a rental or just a stream. I'm not sure. The distribution side of it is not. I don't have anything to do with that.
Okay.
There was how do I put it gingerly, issues with a producer that I don't associate with anymore. So we'll just leave that at that.
Gotcha.
But it's on Prime in the UK and the US. So anybody
the movie,
can watch
the full movie.
Yeah, it's a 16-minute short film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it basically just kind of shows like what happens when someone comes across a Quiet Room Bear in their life, and how it fucking destroys you, and how you then destroy yourself and create another bear. And
hell
yeah, so
that's awesome.
yeah, it turned out really well. I'm proud of it. It's the first thing I wrote and directed. So like looking at it now, it's been obviously like 5 years or whatever. It's hard for me to look back now because I was like, oh, I would have changed this, I would have changed that, and
Is there plans to revisit and maybe do some more?
in the future, I think probably I have ideas for other non-Quiet Room Bear like short films, horror, comedy things that I want to do.
Okay.
So I'm sure at some point I will revisit the Quiet Room Bears. I want to like also expand. There's a possibility I might look into doing a true crime style podcast about different stories of the Quiet Room Bears and stuff.
That's a good idea.
So,
True crime is a big hit right now.
yeah. So I'm trying to start listening to other true crime podcasts to kind of figure out what I like and don't like and what would work well for this. So I want to just kind of expand the brand beyond the product itself.
That's great. That's very smart. So how many bears do you tend to do per session? Do you have a set amount, or is it just until you get tired of it?
I usually shoot for anywhere from like 25 to 30 bears. And it depends on, again, like I said, it takes a long time to make them, like from beginning to end, because I'm just like a one-man show, right? So from making the actual bears to then, like I have to photograph everything and then edit the photos and all the listings and then making all this like supplemental things that go with it. It's a long process. So yeah, I usually try and hit like 25 to 30, and then I do have a Patreon where at certain levels people can get early access to buy a bear one day before the public gets to. So because I mean I've had the last few batches, they'll sell out anywhere in between like a day to a week, but for a while there, like they were selling out in 10 minutes.
Dang.
Like it was just I couldn't make them fast enough. So I might start making like smaller batches, make it a bit more exclusive and stuff, and that way I can maybe put them out faster.
Sweet. No, that's great. Yeah. I think you've established yourself as enough of a brand that it's a boutique item. And so people will be lining up to get their hands on one. So I think that's a smart move.
Yeah.
So as for horror art outside of the Quiet Room Bears, when did you start sort of focusing on that? Because I gotta say, I see more of your drawing art on the Tickety Talks than I see of the Quiet Room Bear stuff.
Yeah. Well, I have two separate TikToks. Okay. There's one for, because like when I first started with TikTok, like everybody, I was doing just like skits and stuff. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, and then I was just like, oh, maybe I should just show some of my art, because I had at the time seen a couple other people just showing their artwork, and I made a video. There's these a painting series I did that are more realistic, called Movie Icons, and they're the black and white ones that are kind of like the half face of horror and sci-fi characters. So I made a video and posted it, and it went, and just showing all of them, and it went like semi-viral, and I was like, oh, this is great. It's like this is my first kind of big hit, and then I thought, like, what other series do I have? And I was like, oh, the Breakfast Cereal Monsters, which are a painting series I did like a decade ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, those are dope as hell. Like, I was like, wow, that's so brilliant.
And it's funny because I almost because I feel like my art has gotten better since then. So there was a point where I was going to retire, though I wasn't even going to carry prints of those in my shop. And I know
the art's already done. Like, why not?
I know it's. I was at the time like, this doesn't really reflect my style. So dumb, right? So I did a video. I did a video showing all the breakfast monsters, and it like blew up. It was bonkers, because then all of a sudden, in my bio, I would have the link to my online shop. And it was like in 2 days I had like 120 orders or something for art prints for the fast food, or for the breakfast guys. so that's when I was just like, okay, cool, this is going to be an art TikTok, you know. And then at a certain point I was like, I'll start showing the Quiet Room Bears on my TikTok, and that started doing really well. But because they're so different from the other art, I was like, oh, I'll make a separate TikTok, which I think is Quiet Room Bears .official, because some kid took at Quiet Room Bears on TikTok. Yeah,
jackass.
What are you gonna do? So, and now it's like the Quiet Room Bears TikTok right now has like 2.1 million followers.
Damn.
Yeah,
that's the one I'm
bananas.
not on then. Yeah, because I just see the other ones. Yeah,
it's crazy. One of the videos I posted it in May is still, it's like got 27 million views.
I saw you post about that recently. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's still going, which is great. Yeah, Quiet Room Bears
official. Okay,
that's it. Yeah,
right there. 2.1 mil. Yeah.
Yeah, and so my regular art one is at like 1.1 million right now.
That's the one I've been following. Yeah, because that's where you're doing the butt horror series, right?
Yeah,
God, I love that shit. I love that shit. So, so just real quick before we get into that, like what made you decide? Like, I mean, it feels like such kind of low-hanging fruit. Like, it's such a brilliant idea that so many people should have thought of, but you're the one that finally did and is doing a wonderful job. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you did it with the fast food monsters, and then it sort of, well, at least in my TikTok frame of reference, it evolved into brand ambassadors, right? The Starbucks mermaid and things like that. And then you were like, okay, well, what else? And now we've got the Muppets, but horror. You did, we can't really say it, but what was it, Disney, but horror? Or was it
well, I think the first ones were...
Might have been Warner Brothers.
I did Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes, right.
And then actually, I think technically, I think the first ones I did were like some Christmas characters last Christmas.
That's right.
And then I just didn't do very, like I only did 12 of them, I guess.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then I did the Looney Tunes, and then Muppets, and now you're
Super Mario Brothers, right?
Yeah,
and it's just, what's fun is trying to anticipate your next one, right? Because have you, like, I mean, if you haven't yet, you're gonna fucking blow up if you start doing Pokemon but horror. You know what I mean? Like, I can only imagine. There's 6,000 Pokemon out there, and if you just did horror versions of them all, people would lose their shit.
Probably, yeah.
I'm not even a Pokemon guy, but I'm just saying.
Same. I'm old. I don't know.
I'm 42, so I'm past. Yeah, like Pikachu, Squirtle, like that's about as far as I go. But if you did it, like, it would just destroy. It would slay. But that's actually a good segue to a question. Right. Sure. Where is the line for you? Like, how important is exposure versus doing something that you would enjoy doing? Right. If you're not a Pokemon guy, you wouldn't necessarily enjoy doing 100 horror Pokemon. So, like, but that shit would go bonkers bananas. Right. Yeah. So do you do that Lady Justice weighing on your side of things?
Yeah, that's a good. I think. Primarily, I think I would almost rather do stuff that I'm just excited to do.
Okay.
You know, like, I mean, obviously the Muppets aren't necessarily, or like the Looney Tunes aren't necessarily like big with the kids these days.
True.
But I just, you know, I grew up with it. So I just immediately like would get the ideas already for like, ooh, I could draw this one this way and this one this way. So I kind of go by what I'm excited to do, you know, like even with the like I'm still doing the fast food monster paintings, but they're larger and they take much more time, and the Bud Horror series is they take they take much less time to do, and it's like I like to do those kind of in between bigger projects because they're fun to do and they kind of keep my creative fires burning, you know. So I've had, like, you know, because I'm only gonna do, I've done with the fast food monsters, I've done like 18, 19 of them so far, and I think there's only like another, you know, 4 or 5 maybe I'll do. Like people are throwing, because I mean it's TikTok, so it's constantly like do this, do that, do
You got to
this.
be super regional at this point, though. Like I feel like you've done the nationwide ones at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like I only really want to do the big ones. You know, some people are like, do like, I don't know, I can't even like think of like a made up one. Like do like Subs Are Us. It's local to my town, and it's like I'm not going to do like you know no name ones or low ones. And I mean some of them it's funny because I'm in Canada, so some of the ones people are throwing at me like do Raising Cane's. I'm like I don't even know what that is. We don't have that up here.
I mean, it is a fantastic chicken place, I will say.
Okay, good. It's
Yeah, it's chicken strips and Texas toast.
Oh, very good. That sounds amazing. Hey, Raising Cane's, come to Canada. So it's like, you know, there'll be ones that like I'd kind of bend on and stuff. Like Jollibee, they just opened a Jollibee here.
I was wondering about Jollibee. I have never seen Jollibee, but I found a Jollibee near me. I've never actually eaten there, but it is like a place, you know? So I was like, all right, Jollibee, cool.
I would just like, people would suggest it and I would just like look it up and be like, do they have a mascot? Because like, they mostly need a mascot for me to make a monster out of, but every once in a while like Subway doesn't have a mascot.
Yeah, I like when you create where there is none too. Like that's fun, because that to me that would seem like you get to flex your artist muscles a little bit.
Yeah, it just kind of opens up to the ideas to whatever I want it to be, you know. But so after like the fast food monsters, like I've had people say, this kind of goes back to your question because I haven't answered it yet. But
I didn't
people
even
will be
notice.
like, people will be like, do sports mascots, but it's like I'm not a sport guy, you know what I mean? Like I'm not, I don't watch sports. And they're like, do like NFL mascots, and it's like that just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
Even though I know it could be popular.
That's fair.
Maybe,
okay, that's fair.
You know,
because that to me, that wouldn't be worth it. Like,
no, it's like, you know, once the fast food monsters are done, I'm just gonna do like regular mascots, like, you know, Jolly Green Giant and Kool-Aid Man, and just kind of there's a lot
that's
there
actually
to
good.
do.
Yeah, I mean, see, to me, that feels like there should be a bigger audience than just the sports people, right? Because like sports, there's that audience, but like people, Jolly Green Giant, everyone that buys groceries knows what the Jolly Green Giant is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. So great. Well, I'm looking forward to that. That's a little bit of an insight for people.
So it's possible that I could do Pokemon one day, but you know, I think they're more like after the Mario is done, I think I want to do Sesame Street. You know, because I can just like already start imagining what I would do with that, and you know, maybe I'll do like '90s cartoons or something like that at some point.
That'd be good too. Yeah,
and it's like I've also seen a lot of people do kind of like scary Pokemon stuff.
That's true. That's true.
You know, that's the kind of hard thing to.
I like that '90s cartoons. Like if you did a horror like Beavis and Butthead, a horror, you know, Ren and Stimpy, a horror. Fucking Phineas and Ferb, you know, Ninja Turtles. Yeah, like, that's a great idea. See, that's the thing. Like, that's what gets me excited is the fact that you specifically can apply your style to so many things that we have experienced on literally a daily basis. Yeah, that's part of what attracts me to your TikTok so much, because every time, like, just as an example, right? I've been on board the Lee Howard train on TikTok for a while now, but what happens now is if I see you do, you know, Mario, you know, and then like the next one I see is fucking Peach and I missed 2 in between, I'm gonna go to your account and go back and watch the ones that I missed and stuff like that, because it's so entertaining and each one is so unique. And again, I'm a horror fan, so I love those mashups. Like I'm a big mashup fan. For Dylan's New Nightmare, we literally mashed up Dream Warriors and Running from This Nightmare for a song.
I just listened to it yesterday and it's fucking great. Like loved it. Loved it. I couldn't believe it.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. But so you can tell the mashup heart is alive in here. You know what I mean? So what you do is like literally speaking to my soul. So, and I know it'll speak to so many others. People just don't know about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so this is kind of a good question. It's one that we kind of touched on a few aspects of it here in this last few minutes. So the Quiet Room Bears, those take time, right? Those take conceptualization, right? Those take writing of stories and everything. Your But Horror series, they take time to draw, right? But
Yeah.
they don't take all of that extra conceptualization time, the
Yeah.
follow through, the actual physical stuff. And you can sell prints of those. You can't sell prints. I mean, you could sell prints of the Quiet Room Bears.
Yeah.
And who knows,
Yeah.
maybe there's an untapped market there. But as an artist, at some point are you like, well, shit, why do I take time to do these bears when I can make 10x by drawing one thing one time and then selling prints of it? Like, is that something that you run into? Or is it just like, I just love doing both so much, I do them as they come, and whatever happens as a result, wonderful?
It's a little bit of both. The bears, because they sell for like certain dollar amounts,
Premium,
like
right?
it's like
Premiums, I would call
the
it.
sales of the bears are really why I'm like able to, pay mortgage,
Okay. Okay.
just because it's like, they range in prices, but I mean, they can range, and these are Canadian prices, I'll list, but they'll range anywhere from like 250 to like $400 or something like that, right? So convert that into American dollars, that's $10 to 35, because the exchange is so shitty.
That's what I've heard from Dave McRae. So
Oh yeah, it's terrible. But art prints are like, I sell them for $20, and it's so, you just never know. It's such a weird thing where people will be like, oh, you should draw this or whatever, or like, I can't wait to see like the Five Guys painting. So it's like, I'll make the painting, and then I'll make
again
prints.
another one that doesn't have a mascot, so you have to create it, right? Which, by
Yeah,
the way, I saw as a big fan of The Thing, right? That's what this bear is.
Nice.
Yeah, loved the Five Guys monster. Loved it.
Thanks. That one was super fun to do. Yeah, it is fun to just, like, if they don't have a mascot, be like, cool, I'm just gonna kind of create what I want to do now, and I just want to make it gross.
But that didn't do as well for you?
Well, it's not even necessary. Well, it was just like a so far, but I mean, like, the thing with selling prints is that sometimes, like, even if people are excited for the painting, I'll then make prints and post like, hey, I finally got prints available for this, and then it's like, people are just like, I just want to look at it, and now I'm done. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it is. Sometimes they do well, and I do a lot of like, I'm doing a lot of conventions, like boothing up here.
I'll bet a lot of people love the 11 by 17s, right?
I mean, all of them. Even it's like the like the Bud Horror series is like, they're like 8 by 10s, so like easily frameable.
Okay.
It's the prints do really well in person. They do okay online for sure. But bears are a bit more of a big ticket item. So, and I like making both, of course.
It's like different muscles, right? Different creative muscles.
Yeah. I try and, like, every couple months or whatever, like, okay, it's time to work on bears, and then that becomes my kind of main focus until I get them done and then sold. It's like, cool, I'm tired of working on them now, so now I get to draw for a couple months. Cool.
So if I can make a small suggestion, only because as a TikTok user, I only knew about the Lee Howard art one.
Right.
If maybe once in a while at the end of one of the, don't forget, we have our Quiet Room Bears thing too, I would have fucking followed the shit out of that. I just didn't know about it. So minor suggestion, obviously don't listen to me. You know what you're doing.
No, it's, I mean, I try and cross promote them sometimes.
For whatever reason, TikTok isn't pushing those cross promotions.
That's the frustration of TikTok, honestly. Like, you just never know when a video is going to hit. Sometimes I'll do a drawing that I think is like really cool, and I'll post it, and it's like, gets nothing, and I'm like, cool. Yeah. So I try not to be bummed about that anymore, because I'm like, I know
it's
that
not a reflection on your quality.
No,
it's a reflection on knowledge in the zeitgeist. You know what I mean? That's usually what it is, in my estimation, because the quality speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just that it doesn't matter how cool it is, if they don't know what you're referencing, they're gonna just by.
For sure.
But again, that should not speak. And this is why. So I don't know how many times you get this comment. I don't know if you'd remember this comment. The only comment I have made on your the artwork is are you planning to do a coffee table book? I don't know if you get that a lot, but you did respond. You're like, hey, that's an idea. Or I can't remember how you responded. I would love like a coffee table book of your butt horror series. Like that shit would be gangbusters. I feel like that shit would be gangbusters for you. I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not in the art game. Maybe I'm full of shit. But I would love to see something like that from you.
I think it would be cool to do stuff like that, honestly, because I could have it where, I mean, you know, it could just be like, let's say the Muppets one, just for example. Like I could, you know, have a book that just has each one on each page, or I could do a thing where it's like one page is the drawing, and then maybe like have like a little story about this horror version on the opposite page or something like that.
Even
you know?
if you just did each one and then an index on the last couple of pages, or glossary, right? Whatever you want to call it. And then you have your names, right? So you don't run into the issues. You know, it's not Big Bird, it's giant
Large
scary
bird.
aviary. You know what I mean?
yeah, totally.
I
want to do more stuff like that. Like I've had a lot of people also suggest I should make like stickers.
Yeah, I want all of it. Like, I don't want just one or two. Like, that's the thing. Like, I want the collection. I want... Because it's all worth it. I just don't have necessarily the money to buy each individual piece.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's like, I also get that, like, people buying, like, the prints for the fast food monsters are, like, 11 by 15. They're bigger. So it's like, people only have so much wall space. You know?
I've converted just to an art book, basically, where I have an 8 by 10 art book, I have an 11 by 17 art book, and I just put the prints, because I ran out of wall space. I don't know if you can tell.
I totally get it. Yeah, my walls are like filled with stuff. Like
you get it, see. Yeah. But oh god, I saw some of the prints on the left and I freaked out.
Oh yeah, all the paintings are up on the wall.
And I love that you know shit like the noise. Like you and I are very close in age apparently, because you have all the references to shit that literally is my life growing up. So I love that.
That is like the funny thing too, where it's like I know that some stuff might not be known, you know what I mean? Like some people are like, what is the Noid? And I'm like, okay, it was like,
here's the story. Sit down.
Yeah, even with the breakfast cereal guys, it's funny, like the Sugar Bear. And then I'll have like kids being like, it's like the Honey Bear. And I'm like, when I was a kid, it was the Sugar Bear, you know, or like the Sugar Smacks. They're like, it's called Honey Smacks.
Honey Smacks.
I'm like, no, when I was a kid, 80% of cereal had the word sugar in it, you know?
Yeah. I love that though. Like that's the fun thing. Like again, you're speaking directly to my nostalgic soul with your artwork, and that's why I'm like, I would just love a book that I could literally just show people that come over. I would literally do a flip through on the channel. Like, look at this shit. This shit's so fucking cool. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, once that happens,
it's absolutely something I want to look into, because I think that it is a really good idea. So yeah,
I think you'd do gangbusters with it, and again, make that a boutique item. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do like, I don't even know, $100, $150 if it's coffee table size.
Sure, yeah.
You know, people I think would pay it. So I'm looking forward to that. That's enough lobbying on my end. Let's get back to the questions. So as far as how long ago did you get on TikTok, and then how has that affected your day-to-day business?
So I got on TikTok. Well, my like my first kind of big viral videos happened kind of like right before the pandemic like really hit, like
perfect timing. Perfect.
So oh my god, honestly it was a lifesaver.
What's funny is I say that slightly in jest, but at the same time, when everyone went home, they were craving to spend money on stuff because they couldn't go out and spend money on stuff.
Bingo. Yep, absolutely. So as bad as it was that it happened and stuff, and obviously a lot of bad things happened, people losing jobs, dying. I get it. Trust me, you're not. Yeah, because look, Dylan's New Nightmare became so much better because of the pandemic. We could address the script. We hired and fired and hired the director of photography. You know, like a lot of good stuff came because of the pandemic. So I get it. It is true. As and it's like that's I think a thing in life in general. Sometimes really great things come out of bad things.
Yes.
So I had been on TikTok, I don't know, let's just guess like summer 2019 maybe. And then it was, yeah, maybe around like November, December that the fat or the breakfast cereal monster video really hit. And I mean, because of that, and then at the time I was able to, like, show the quiet room bears and stuff like that on that TikTok, and then made the other one. I mean, it's TikTok is the reason why I can support myself on art now.
That's
So
great.
as annoying as it is sometimes, and I get yelled at by kids a lot and stuff all the time,
You're not
that I'm not
TikToking right.
no, yeah, I'm not making art fast enough, like,
Oh
what, just like,
God.
I don't even care about this drawing. I want to see another fast food monster. Like, calm down, Jeremy. Like, you know?
Listen, Braden.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. No, but that's also a unique position to be in, right? That people like your stuff so much that
Yeah.
they're like, look, I want more of it. They might not
Oh, yeah.
want more of what you want to work on, but it
Yep.
ultimately is a flattering sentiment.
I'm very lucky. Yeah, I'm super, super thankful, super lucky. I mean, I used to take like a lot of the painting commissions, like I was saying earlier. Like, people would ask me to paint their pets or like their grandparents or whatever, and I was like happy to do it because people are giving you money to do the thing that you love. I've just always wanted to make art for a living. I see my old, embarrassing Facebook memory posts, 14 years ago or whatever, when I was working at like a shitty warehouse, and I was just like, I just want to make art for a living. Like, why can't I do it? And so I don't even take like painting commissions anymore because I'm so busy making my art, and thankfully people are buying it. So
That's great, though. That's like
yeah.
all one wants to aspire to, right?
Yeah, and it's it is terrifying that sometimes, like, I'll go a couple months and sales are not good at all, but then I'll have a couple really good months that kind of carry me through it's so uh what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like you just never know when it's gonna
It's a
be
bit
a
of a
good
roller
month.
coaster for you.
Yeah, it is. But it's still worth it. It's a better kind of stress to have than when I was working like jobs I hated.
Oh, yeah. Well, trust me, as someone that still does that, yeah, I think that's a good way to go if you can manage it.
Yeah.
So let me ask then, because I feel like you would kill at like horror conventions or tattoo conventions, things like that. Do you attend those at all or regularly?
I do up here in Canada.
Okay.
I would love to figure out how to get my stuff down to like do to booth at uh, U.S. conventions. I'm
Dude,
actually driving.
Send your stuff to me, and we'll handle the Southwest for you.
That's yeah. I've actually, people have suggested that too. Just because it's like, I know that there's like goofy thing. Each state is different with like, you need a tax ID vendor number and stuff, and I'm too stupid to understand any of that. My brain is very simple.
If
and
you're a
small.
business and you sell stuff, we technically have a tax ID number, so it's not hard to do.
Right. Okay. But I would like to do that. I'm actually going to Horror Hound next week. I'm
Oh,
driving to the States.
are you gonna meet up with Deandra? Because I know she's
Yep.
gonna be there too.
Yep.
Hell yeah, that's
My
awesome.
my buddy Jim, who was like, he shows up in like Fred heads and stuff, as did I.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
I'm driving to Buffalo to meet him, and then we're driving to Horror Hound. So I'm super excited. But yeah, there's really good. There's a great horror convention in Niagara Falls here in Ontario at the end of October every year, called Frightmare in the Falls. So I vend there all the time,
Nice.
or every year. And it's like anytime there's like little like 1 day shows, I'll try and do those like oddities shows and kind of horror themed shows, because it seems like, for obvious reasons, that is just where my stuff does best.
Gotcha.
Like I'd never vended at a Comic Con before, and I like Comic Con. I'm a big like superhero nerd,
Okay.
but I just I had a booth at Niagara Falls Comic Con in, I don't know, May or something like that, and I didn't do that great because I think there's just too many fandoms there. Like there's like manga and superheroes, and like they did have a good horror section, but there's like wrestling guys there and hockey guys there, and it's too
It's a lot to
diluted.
contend with. Yeah.
Absolutely. So going to just like a pure horror show, and I love horror conventions. It's just such like a family environment. I love it.
Agreed. Yeah, Mad Monster is one of our favorites, and that's the one that we tend to stick with a lot. So as far as the horror genre, do you aspire to do anything else that you haven't done yet, or is just making sure that you're creating your own art for the rest of your life, like that's where you want to be, that's the pocket you were aiming for, boom, good to go? Because the only reason I ask is because you made the short film, right, the trailer and all that. So do you have aspirations to make a horror movie, make movies in general, or is doing your own art like what you wanted to do, and boom, you're living your best life?
Good question. Sometimes I am like, what am I going to do next? I would like to, like I said, I have a couple ideas for some horror short film, like a horror comedy short films that I want to do, that I want to write and direct as well. Which, like, I don't know that I want to be in the film industry. I don't know if that's where I feel like I want to go. I don't know. But I mean, maybe when I get my feet a little bit more wet in that, because it's like making the first, like the Quiet Room Bears movie was like, so I mean, knew it was going to be stressful and hard, but I wasn't prepared for how fucking hard it is to make short film. Yeah. As I'm sure you guys are aware.
Oh, it takes effort. Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was really hard. And I think that a little bit was like, made me like, I don't know if I love this. But I think it is something I definitely want to explore more. I have other things that like kind of illustrated storybooks that are kind of like scary-ish, like kind of for kids, but kind of still scary.
Okay.
That I really like, ideas that I've had, I swear, for like 20 years, that I've been trying to figure out how to, like, should it be a graphic novel? Should it be a storybook? I haven't quite figured out the format, but ultimately I'm like, I know this will be something big. I would love it to be like a stop animated movie one day. I just like, I want to be more of a storyteller. I want to write, stories, and like I have a short one that I wrote called The Zombie Werewolf Boy that I want to illustrate and just make like a little book out of. So I have a lot of ideas for things I want to do. It's just a matter of like getting off my ass and making them.
Well, I'm excited to keep in touch with you because I have access to people that are doing animated stuff and things like that. So let's stay in contact, because there's
absolutely.
I mean, you have the talent to create the concept designs and everything for any kind of animated project, and it's just a matter of dialing in the story and stuff. And so that's fucking cool. I'd love to see that stuff happen from you, so that's exciting to hear. Fantastic.
Lots of plans.
Well, let's help make those plans come to fruition, shall we? So let me ask this in a very general way. I do tend to ask this question: what do you love about the horror genre?
It's so funny. There is a documentary called Why Horror that I saw once upon a time, and it is funny. It's like, why do I like this scary stuff? Like, what is it about horror that we're attracted to? Because it's like, it's weird to think like, oh, I'm super excited to watch this movie where a bunch of people get murdered. But it's,
it's hard to show your excitement in the wrong circles.
Absolutely. But I've always gravitated towards like spooky things. Like, it brings me great joy. Like, all the stores now are starting to stock their Halloween stuff, and it's like when I go in there and I'm surrounded by it, I just feel great.
When the spirit stores start appearing, it's wonderful.
Oh, ours just opened up, and it was like, I'm just like skipping through the fucking aisles, like just so happy, right? I it's hard to pinpoint why I love horror so much, but it's just one of the things, I'm a big Adam Green fan.
Okay.
Um, and I know him a little. I know him a little bit now.
Do you
He
really?
actually, I do. Yeah, I actually,
I
he has
might,
a quiet room bear,
I might
and
utilize that connection if once the movie comes out. As you may have seen in the trailer, we have a
yep.
particular connection to Adam and his property.
I saw that, and it was funny that I saw that because if you watch the last movie, Victor Crowley,
Mm-hmm.
in like the opening credits where it's showing like all these like newspaper articles and they're having the voiceover, one of the newspapers, I can't remember what the headline is, but it's written, the writer of the article is Lee Howard. It's
Oh,
me.
that's hilarious.
And I didn't know that he did that. So yeah, him and I become friends a little bit. And his podcast, him and Joe Lynch have the Movie Crypt
Yeah,
podcast, which
yeah.
I super love. And one of my bucket list things was every year they do that Yorkie-thon where it's
Mm-hmm.
like 48 hours and
Yep,
it
yep.
benefits Yorkies. So I was a guest on the Yorkie-thon,
That's awesome.
which was, I mean, I was listening to that podcast for years. So the fact that I got to be on it was like dream come true.
That
And
is
him
super
and Joe are
cool.
like friggin' nicest guys in the world. Um, but one thing Adam said one time on the podcast, which I'm like, it's so true, that with horror and horror movies, they do. I mean, they usually they have horror obviously in it, but it's like they'll also have comedy elements to them. They'll have drama elements to them. You know what I mean? There's like they can make you very emotional, and I don't feel like any other genre. Like you watch a drama movie, it's just drama.
Yep.
You watch a comedy movie and it's just funny, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like horror movies often really incorporate all those elements,
Mm-hmm.
and just no other genres do that, and I love that about it.
I love that too. Honestly, to me, films in general are about eliciting a reaction from the audience, right? And to me,
Absolutely.
the most visceral reactions you can elicit are horror movies.
Yep.
And horror movies can span, like there's all different kinds. Like there's comedy horror, there's dramatic horror, there's
Absolutely.
action horror, there's sci-fi horror. Like every version of film, there's a horror branch of that
Yep.
element, and that's what I love about it. It's so like diverse that you can inject horror into almost anything and make it work almost better than the original product at
Yeah.
times. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's part of why I've always loved horror, because you want people to feel things, and horror puts them in a position to feel things they'll never have to feel in real life,
Yeah.
in a perfect world.
Yeah.
But they can dip their toe into it, right? And so
Absolutely. Yeah.
everyone loves that, and I'm a big fan too. So yeah, I totally get that for sure.
Yeah, and it's like, it's relatable. We all feel fear,
Yeah.
like in of different things. But it's like that's one thing that everybody everybody shares. We all have fears. And I think like Wes Craven had said that like, horror movies don't like create the fear, they release it.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yeah, Wes is an absolute genius for sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so do you I would say, do you have any, again, this is a question I'm sure you've been asked before, do you have any tips for any aspiring horror artists, be them, people that want to create actual 3D things like your Quiet Room Bears, or people that just want to stick to the 2D drawing or painting aspects? Do you have any tips for any artists out there, any aspiring artists, we should say?
I would say like primarily just do what you love. Just again, like I used to paint people's pets and stuff like that, and it was great, but it's like it wasn't like fulfilling that need in my heart to create. I was making something for someone else, but it wasn't like fueling me, because I was just like, I just want to paint monsters because that's what I love so much. So it's I kind of feel like if you do what you love so much, like there will be an audience for it. Like who would have thought that I would have found 2 million people that like these things, like Quiet Room Bears. like there is other weirdos out there like me, and I've discovered that now.
Absolutely.
So honestly, yeah, I mean, I think the key thing is to just make what you love and make as much art as you can, whenever you can. I think I'd like kind of said the same type of thing on Deandra's podcast, where it's just like, I mean, I could totally plagiarize this amazing speech that Neil Gaiman, the author, gave, and where he's just like, make it on the good days, make it on the bad days as well. Just make good art, and just like don't stop and make your art. And yeah, that's just, and honestly, like, plaster it everywhere you can online. Like, I think the thing. Once upon a time, when Facebook pages were, helpful, or relevant, that's where I started kind of, I had a pretty good following on Facebook pages, but now it's like a digital graveyard.
Yeah.
Like, I'll still post stuff there because why not? That's the thing. If it reaches 2 people and one of those people wants to buy something from me, I'm gonna find them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like where, Instagram and obviously TikTok, and now like Threads is a new social media platform, and it's exhausting that there are this many. But I mean, I like being able to buy groceries and food for my cats, so
yeah,
I'm gonna plaster my art literally wherever I feel like it could find an audience. So I think that's something absolutely aspiring artists should do. And also I think it's really important to bring your art to like local shows. That's something that I mean, I only used to do the one Niagara Falls convention a year, and anytime I went, it was like, people, it's funny now because people are like, are you that TikTok guy? Which is crazy because it's like, I post stuff online and I forget that, like, I see the numbers, but I forget that those are people, which sounds like weird in a way.
There's
so
a
I think it's
disconnect.
really,
I get it.
Yeah, it's absolutely. So I think it's really important to, put a face to your art, and it's also just so nice to be able to meet people in person and talk about art and talk about horror, and it's so fun. So I think that is a thing that is really important, that people, like, kind of just starting out, if you have art and you make art, find a local art show and get like a little table there and set up, because it's just so fun to meet people.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, definitely good advice. So we're winding up here. One of the last questions I have is, what do you think are some recent wins and losses from the horror genre? Whether it be movies, TV shows, books, whatever you have experienced. What are some wins and what are some losses? Just so we can place your thoughts within the genre.
Sure. As far as wins, the things that pop into mind are Evil Dead Rise. I loved it. God, there's other stuff that I know I've seen recently that I really like. It's funny. I know that, like, Halloween 2018, like, that trilogy is very divisive.
Yeah.
And I really like 2018. I'm one of the people that falls on the side of loving kills.
Oh, really?
Because
I'm on the opposite side.
and I also get that. I understand why people didn't, but I was like, it was just like a Michael Myers murder mayhem, and it was just fun for me. Like, that's all I wanted out of it, was to see a bunch of, like, Michael Myers kills, and I just had a good time.
So then you feel the same with me, because the other half of the movie was a hospital trying to track down a non-killer. So you probably only liked half the movie then.
I mean, some of it was a real bummer. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that whole part was
got him.
Super bummer. Yeah, it's like.
So we feel the same. We like the Michael Myers stuff. We don't like the other bullshit that was in that movie.
Yeah, it's just like, but it still made me feel something, even though I was like, oh, I'm real bummed that this innocent guy just fucking jumped out of the window and died.
It made me feel like I wasted 45 minutes, but sure, I get it.
But I still, what I liked about it was, I like that we got to see how fucking crazy he made, like, this one guy made the whole town.
Yeah. And
how it turned, like, mob mentality stuff. And I know everyone hates the evil dies tonight.
It's pretty bad.
Thing. But it didn't, bother me that much because it is just like, I don't know, seeing that mob mentality and just like the fear that he put into the entire town. I thought that was kind of cool. Halloween Ends.
You didn't like that he disappeared
Nah.
into the sewer and it became a love story?
I think there was an opportunity to do a better movie. And honestly, if they had a different part 3 and Halloween Ends was like, now we're going to show what Michael Myers' legacy, how it affected other people and stuff, and now it's like the town like is looking for another boogeyman to hate. I like that idea, but I didn't love it. Who the fuck is this Corey guy, and how did he beat Michael Myers?
Exactly.
Yeah. So so yeah, that one was a lose for me. I'm glad that some people love it. Like I never want to shit on movies that I know some people like. I'll usually just be like, it didn't work for me.
Gotcha.
But it's like, because I know, I mean, even Deandra, like, she loved Halloween Ends, and it's like, cool, there's another movie that somebody loves, and that's great.
That's why I don't mind when we get like news that they're doing a new Texas Chainsaw movie or a new Hellraiser movie or a new, heaven forbid, Nightmare movie. It's like, I would rather them keep trying and keep failing. I don't have to rewatch the bad ones. But if they make a good one, then I can add that to the rotation.
Absolutely.
I'd rather have a chance at more good ones than never have another one again.
Totally. That's what I feel about remakes. Like, I am pro remake. I like more
100%.
remakes than I dislike.
Dude, I liked the Poltergeist remake. I liked like the freaking the oh god, My Bloody Valentine remake. Like, I liked so many remakes that a lot of people just despise, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It just updated shit.
It's because people's like treat nostalgia like religion, and if it's like you have anything new that like doesn't even challenge the original, just like bears the name, people get mad at it for some reason, and I think that's kind of silly.
Agreed.
That's just me, but yeah, I'm super pumped to see Talk to Me. I've heard that's amazing. I'm super pumped to see Cobweb.
Cobweb is great. Talk to Me is great. Yeah, it's been a good year for horror, honestly.
It's been great, and it's funny that people are like, there's nothing original anymore, because there's a lot original.
It just comes straight to streaming most times,
Yeah, and it's like, I'm fine with that too. I really do want to support like horror in theater when I can, but I also really love being able to wear like my sweatpants and have like a Ryan Coke in my hand and be just like a lazy, gross slob on my couch.
Dude, 100%. Well, and Shudder puts out some bangers, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like, there's some good stuff out there if you just know where to look and you know what you're talking about. And so, but yeah, it is also exciting to see movies like Talk to Me come out of A24 from two dudes out of Australia that have a YouTube channel that's mainly them doing wrestling and fake fights and stuff like that.
That's so crazy.
But they end up coming out with one of the best horror movies of the entire year.
Amazing.
And then I'm like, it's really excited about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I'm not in the age range that I should be if I'm so excited, but I love those games. The first 3 I played, then it got too much for me, but I love the idea, like as someone that grew up in the age of Chuck E. Cheese, Chuck E. Cheese on my side of the globe, and then it was Showbiz Pizza on the west or on the east coast.
Right.
I mean?
That's where I've heard that on my TikTok, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So like people have dealt with these animatronics and seeing a version of murderous animatronics and child killing and bodies put into the animatronic, like that's a cool idea for me. So like there's still some good stuff out there that I'm excited about.
Oh yeah,
it's just a matter of whether or not the studios actually follow through and Blumhouse does a good version. I heard the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is supposed to be 3 hours right now. Like that's super surprising for me, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll cut it down, but then you'll get the extended director's cut.
Exactly, just like they did with Megan. Yeah.
Another like fun one. It's just it's I feel like with a lot of horror, it's kind of like pizza for me. Even if it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. I love that. I love that. Horror is like pizza. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, it's not often I see one and I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah, agreed. And even if it happens, like I find if I revisit it in a more open frame of mind later, I end up liking it more. So that's the great thing. So I would say the last question I have for you is there a particular thing you want people to keep an eye out for? Like, what do you want people to watch? Like, where can people go to follow you? And then what do you want them to keep an eye out for coming soon?
So they can follow me, on of course, TikTok, the quietroombears.official. I think it's Lee Howard _art or .art. I can't remember. You literally just like search fast food monsters and you'll find me.
You'll find it. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course on Instagram and stuff, like any follows is great and helpful. I know it shouldn't be we shouldn't be concerned about like social media numbers, but when you're like an artist who works for himself, that actually it really helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like I don't really necessarily have anything like big coming up. There's going to be a new batch of Quiet Room Bears. I'm going to try and start making more movie themed ones, which I usually have to auction off because I get like, the last one I did maybe was, I did a Midsummer inspired Quiet Room Bear.
Okay.
And I built like the little triangular house to go in its like stomach, and I sculpted runes to go in its feet, and
Damn.
it turned out really, really well. But it's like when I'm like, I'm making a Freddy Krueger bear or I'm making a Candyman bear, I get hundreds of people being like, sell it to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? You get to fight for it. I'll put it up on eBay.
Hell yeah.
So I want to start doing more. I want to do a Candyman bear, and I want to do like a Stranger Things bear and stuff like that. So
you could do like a cobweb bear. You could do like hyper specific bears that people would still really love for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The movie ones, just because they're more like kind of in demand or sought after as opposed to just the regular ones. I only do like one every once in a while, but I want to start doing more if I can.
You might as well start not just paying rent but saving up for rainy days.
That would be amazing. I know Visa, MasterCard would love it if I was giving them more money. So yeah, just and look for convention appearances. Hopefully I can start doing some in the States at some point. But otherwise, yeah, just find me online and say hello.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to sit down and have this interview with me, Lee. I really appreciate it. Guys, make sure you follow Lee at all of the places. I'm going to make sure all the links are in the description box down below, so go and check those out. Thank you to all of our patrons for watching along and supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you, Lee, once again for taking the time to do this. It was actually really exciting. I got to let Morgan take a lot of that excitement at the very beginning of all this that people didn't get to see, but I was very excited to speak with you as well, so she just helped ground me a little bit.
Amazing. That's awesome.
So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you guys very much. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird. I was joined by Lee Howard. Make sure you go follow him on all the social medias. And until next time, remember, stay scared.